We have a story today about EU legislation or draft EU legislation from France, which is basically going to allow states to be able to install spyware on journalists' phones, and it is merde. So, anyway, enjoy our rant.
Story from The Guardian about EU regulation. Peter, you're our resident expert on EU regulation. Bring us up to speed.
This is some draft legislation which has been introduced the title from The Guardian is Draft EU Plans to Allow Spying on Journalists are Dangerous, warn critics. The legislation in question, what was the name called? It's called
European Media Freedom Act.
Yeah, ironically called the European Media Freedom Act. Yeah, I know. The first version of it had actual strong protections for journalists against having spyware on their phones, specifically for things like the NSO groups, Pegasus spyware. But something that was introduced by France, who seem to be on a very right-wing bent at the moment, is kind of the opposite. And it basically allows national or state actors to install spyware on journalist phones.
Yes, but military-grade spyware.
Yeah. Full on like 0-day stuff that can't be detected by anybody or anything. And it's pretty horrible, really. I mean, it's fucked up, to be quite honest. And France have done this other thing recently where they want to be able to do a global DNS block list and start, intercepting everybody's DNS requests and being able to monitor people that way. So I don't know what's going on in France. I don't know, maybe it's some election coming up, or there's someone's trying to win some votes, or they're just a bunch of assholes. And I'm English, so we don't like the French.
So they went.
Of course, I won't use this opportunity.
It's important to point out. I just want to say it's really important to point out that the Dutch representative, whose name I cannot pronounce, stood up super vocal against this. Which is so classic Netherlands. Like, that is so classic because they are so forward on like digital rights and just feels like they're very ahead of the curve when it comes to tech. France, on the other hand, not.
The one saving grace of this is that it's draft legislation, so it has to be approved. And I don't think it's going to go for it.
Something super interesting is that they didn't bring in experts for this draft, which was not a first, but like very rarely do they not bring in experts when talking about such a big topic like this.
Yeah, and there was no in-person meeting, which was also kind of weird.
Yeah, a lot of question marks.
I mean, I think clearly just the underhand method to try and get the legislation through. And the thing about it is that even if it's not approved, they're probably going to do it anyway.
I mean, they are already. They said in the article that I forget how many journalists, was like 180 journalists or 18. I don't remember the number, but they discovered Pegasus. So the NSO group, who basically sell malware and spyware to governments, they found their spyware on their phones, on journalist phones, European journalists.
Yeah, but don't forget that the NSO do say that everybody that they sell it to is contractually obliged not to install it on anybody's phones unless it's for the purposes of preventing terrorism.
I think it's funny that they mentioned that in the articles, that whole like the NSO group, they really take this seriously, and it's like I'm sure that they do, but like tracking or enforcing anything like this when we're looking at the world stage, good luck. And then also, it's the equivalent of saying it's the offensive security, the creators of the operating system Kali Linux, which is known as like the hacking OS, that has like a bunch of tools ready for you to just spin it up and start hacking away. I mean, they say the same bullshit, right? They're like, you can't use this for anything illegal. And it's like the first thing a script kiddie does is going to go download Kali. Like, yeah, so it's such bullshit that they even included it in the article. I feel like they were really looking to increase the words there. The word
yeah.
count.
Yeah. I guess we'll wait and see what happens from the legislation. Yeah. But what do you think, Mike? Any thoughts?
No, I think you guys covered it. The only comment I was going to make from the article was that they specifically say that France, the language France added is that they still, the amendment still protects journalists, but not, quote, without prejudice to the member states' responsibility for safeguarding national security.
Oh, God.
That old shtick.
Yeah.